Hey guys, Jeffrey here with another episode of Auto Alchemy. When will this guy quit? You know what I mean? You know what I mean. You know. This is going to be another one of my objective personality typing videos, but it's going to be a little rougher than usual, as you can tell from the quality of the camera. I tried to film this yesterday and filmed it with my phone. Everything was hunky dory, HD AF. But I hit some snags with the editing. I had this whole thing planned, and I decided it would be better to do something rough and ready than to do nothing at all. I think a wise man once said that, or if I ever encounter a wise man, I would expect him to say something like that. Um, okay. Anyway, this episode is about controversial writer Robert Greene. Um, if you don't know who he is, he's written things like The 48 Laws of Power, Mastery, The Art of Seduction, and I think that he's primarily controversial because people see what he's doing and react to it like, man, this guy must be obsessed with power. What kind of narcissistic, sociopathic person must he be? And as I understand it, and look, I don't know the guy. I'm perfectly willing to accept that he might be all of those things, but to me, it seems like his motivation is to give the world this gift of knowledge, saying, hey, here's how people use different laws of power. Here are the strategies, the games that they play. And now that you are empowered with this information, do as you will. Protect yourself, protect your family, spread this information. Obviously, people can use it um, for bad purposes, I suppose, but I think that the real Machiavellian characters who are out there in the world already kind of have this information internalized. They don't need to read some 48 distilled rules in order to kick your butt and to steal your life force. What am I saying? Anyway, I don't really know why I felt compelled to advocate for the devil here. Um, like I said, I really don't care. He might be a bad person, he might not be, but he looks like a puppy dog, so it does give me pause. So as I go through typing Robert Greene, I am going to be sharing a couple of video clips, and I'm also going to be sharing my objective personality typing doc. I'm streaming this whole thing, so it's going to be a little bit different than what you're used to. So this is one of the first things that jumped out at me whenever I was watching videos about Robert. And keep in mind that I'm watching multiple videos numerous times. I'm only showing you some highlights, things that really stuck out in my mind.
And then we'll go from there. So Robert Greene. Who was Robert Greene in high school?
Well, I was a bit of a lost kid. Had long hair, and I was a bit of a weirdo. Didn't fit in. I went to a kind of a surfer school, Palisades High. A lot of blonde kids, surf, not very intellectual environment. And I loved books and reading. And even then, my head was in the clouds. So I just didn't fit in. But I had, some good friends.
So in that clip, you can see a few different things. Like you can see that he might have some decider issues. Like there was a sense of an identity crisis. Like he didn't quite fit into the puzzle of other people. But I'm trying not to be too hasty with making any conclusions from that. He also talked about having his head in the clouds. So that makes me think maybe he's intuitive as opposed to being sensing. Again, I'm not really going to say anything definitively on that front. The only thing here that I really feel comfortable saying is that I'm fairly certain that he is not consumed last. So we'll jump in here and make some changes. So we'll get rid of this entire column, and we will get rid of these two columns here, and we'll get rid of this guy. I feel fairly confident that he's not over here. He's not, play blast, super punchy, super extroverted. He's a little bit, he's a little bit of a nerd. He's withdrawn, and he's sharing these findings that he has concocted in his laboratory away from the world. Let's see, what else? I'm also going to say that he's not missing blast. He he does seem to be info dominant. His life has been about taking in information and then distilling information. He creates, books with titles like The 48 Laws of Power. And, you know, that's to me, that's a pretty clear indicator that life is about information, um, as opposed to being centered around energy. So we're going to go ahead and eliminate this bad boy as well. Obviously, none of these are going to go, but these two will go. And this one will go. Gosh, I'm so nervous because I'm like, what if I overlook something? Okay. Back to me. I have another clip that I want to share, and this one is intended to get at that distinction between thinking and feeling. Like, why don't you watch this and just meditate on what the implications are? That's right. You're doing the typing now, not me. I'm done typing. Never going to type again. I think some people who watch my channel might actually appreciate that, if I'm being honest. Okay.
When they were 3, 4, 5 years old, they discovered what it is that they love, like Einstein with the compass, or Steve Jobs passing by an electronics store. And the point in the book is there's no real rational explanation why people are attracted to something. I can't give you a rational reason why I was drawn to books of literature. My father isn't like that. He was a businessman. He sold chemical supplies. My mother was a housewife. They loved learning, but neither of them were readers or intellectuals or anything. I can't explain it to you. There's no rational reason. It's just something I was drawn to. There was something within me that was just drawn to history. I know.
So what are you seeing in there? Because I'm seeing that he's not Savior TI. In fact, what I am seeing seems a lot like FI, but I'll pump the brakes. I'll be a little conservative here. I know you guys hate it when I get reckless with my typing. I know CS Joseph, if you're watching, and I know you're watching, you're always watching. I apologize, man. I know I could be doing better. I could always be doing better. So let's bring up the old typing doc. Okay, so yeah, like I said, I don't think he's Savior TI, and based on the nature of what he was saying, I don't think TE either, but once again, I'll be careful. I'll take my time. I think Snoop Dogg once encouraged me to do that. You should look up the song Sexual Eruption if you haven't ever heard it. And then TI is not going to be over here at all because everybody on the right half of the doc is Savior Tribe. So let's see. And I did want to say a little bit more about why I made this decision. Essentially, he's saying that his interests and things are completely self-sufficient. They don't need to be rationally justified. The emotional reactions, the emotional evaluations that he's making, they stand on their own. They are entirely what they need to be. Gosh, I feel like I feel like I really butchered that, but anyhow, that wise man that I never met, I think he's clapping for me somewhere in heaven. I think all the wise men are dead. Oh, jeez. That got morbid. So the next part that I'm trying to prove with Robert Greene is whether or not he's sensing or intuition based. And I know earlier I mentioned that I thought intuition, like I'm leaning in that direction. And well, maybe this clip here from a different interview actually will clarify things even further.
Sure. But how we're so attached to what we see in life, to what's in front of us, to what the appearances people have, to their masks they wear. And I want you to think of what isn't there, what you're not seeing, what's invisible. I kind of go into it in the chapter about generations and trends in society. And all my books, I'm trying to tell people, don't accept what you see with your eyes. Look for something deeper. What is the meaning behind this? If you're planning a strategy or making a big decision in your life, what is it that you're not considering?
So, as far as I'm concerned, Mr. Greene here is telling us beyond a shadow of a doubt that he finds that the patterns, the things that you extrapolate from the sensory data to be the most enticing, to be the most rewarding. And I don't think this is like something he's come to learn. It seems like this is a natural, calm mode of being for him. For him, life is about those patterns, and he wants other people to see that. Don't get bogged down in the fact of the matter. And let's take a walk to the wild side. Um, so, okay, so like I said, I don't think he is a censor. If I were, yeah. Yeah, if I were a gambling man, and I am, don't tell my mom. Whoops, haha. Getting distracted. You know, he's also somebody who leans pretty heavily on metaphors, and he was talking about the process of writing a book and how it's a little bit like creating a sauce. You know, he's putting in all of these ingredients, and then he's very slowly, you know, sampling it, tasting it, seeing what the flavor is, and then, you know, remixing it, adjusting, and adding a pinch of this, a pinch of that, which I think is whoops, pretty fascinating. As somebody who hates cooking and just doesn't like to be in the kitchen, I feel like that is a arena of metaphorical potential that was closed off to me. Sad face. Although I could obviously learn, I could have more of a growth mindset when it comes to the kitchen. And I would like to. I really would like to. So the next question that I went hunting for was whether or not he's a double decider or a double observer, and I could actually see a case being mounted for either half here. I guess if I wanted to argue that he was a double observer, I would point out that he's taking in a lot of sensory facts and then distilling them down into, you know, intuitive principles. But it might just be that he's really strong with his demons, and I mean, I've already done the typing. Okay, this is just a after the fact demonstration. So I have my theories uh, as to why I actually think that he's a double decider, and why you might see him as a double observer. But essentially, the thing that really makes me think that he is a double decider is I won't play the clip because I feel like I'm bogging down the video a little bit with footage, but he's talking about his writing process and how he juggles his own personal perspective, his personal values, his sense of interest and enthusiasm for the piece with, you know, maintaining the interest of a reader and giving them good reason to want to read along. And to be able to pivot like that, I see that as being a very double decider sort of thing. And you can also see that in the fact that although he's sort of following this sense of this internal compass, this sense of, um, well, I think I'm giving things away, but he's following this internal sense of what's interesting, what's not interesting. But then he's sort of like relying on TE in the shape of like, here are all of these great thinkers, and I'm milking them for quotations. I'm giving you their reasoning as well in order to impact your reasoning. And that's not to say FI is over TE or TE is over FI. All I'm really saying is that I see those two things, and I see them sort of intersecting. So not only is he a double decider, but I'm pretty sure that that's the kind of double decider he is. So I guess we're just gonna go ahead and eliminate. We're gonna do this badly. Here we go. So this is a single decider. Single decider boys over here. gonna have to wave farewell to these two and to this one as well, because as I said, we're seeing a lot more of the FITE kind of axis. Goodbye. Goodbye to you. Not much of a singer, as you can tell. Actually, and you know what? We don't need to look at my face anymore because I'm pretty sure that I can just show you the doc and make some final sharp decisions here. So the next thing that I went hunting for is whether he is consume over blast or vice versa. And, you know, I am fairly confident here that he is consume over blast. He once said in one of the interviews I saw that he reads 200 to 300 books in order to write a single book. So that's how important it is for him to stock up on information before he, you know, jettisons it out into the world, shares it with other people. So, whoa. So we're going to get rid of the blaster boys. Going to get rid of, oh yeah. And after that, I went hunting for whether I thought he was missing play or sleep, because those are the only two options. And you can keep in mind here that whatever's missing will naturally highlight its opposite. So you tell me, does he seem more playful or a little more reserved? He's obviously not like bursting with energy. I think that it's safe to say that he's missing play, at least given the corner that I've talked myself into. So we'll go ahead and get rid of this, and we'll get rid of this guy. And, you know, that leaves us here with him being a type of INTJ or a type of ENFP. And that might strike some people as strange that these are the final two options. You know, you hear a little bit about the intense magnetic attraction between these two types. They're supposed to make pretty good partners in crime and partners in life, romantically speaking. But I only know about their criminal history. And I'm kind of struggling here to see the difference between, well, I'm struggling to see if he has NI or if he has any, because even though he'll say things like, because he will say things like, I'm all about digression and I don't like simplifying things. But then you look at what he's actually doing, and he is distilling things down, although he's not doing it to an exceptional degree. If 48 laws, if that's what he, you know, if that's the conclusion that he comes to, if that's his winnowing capabilities. But I think that feminine NI could seem more like any, and maybe that would account for why his organizing is a little less organized and a little more, I guess, diffuse. The thing is, I can't really say for certain what I'm seeing, and I think that it would be helpful in this case to look at the animals and look at the kind of flavor that they're going to have on the basis of the cognitive function. So for that ENFP, consume is going to be a lot different from what the INTJ would experience. So let's see, what can we get from that? What mileage can we get out of that kind of analysis? And for me, it's pretty fruitful to look at the question this way, because his method of blasting does seem to be very NT well, actually, in 1985, the military leader such and such. Hopefully, that conveys my point. And then I think the consuming is really where it's interesting because he is consuming sensory facts and sensory details about things that he fi values, and then he's turning that into, you know, this ni distillation. And and if he were an enfp, that would be a little different. He would be consuming patterns that he loved, but I think you can see that he's consuming facts. He's reading about things that actually happened, historical events, military strategies. He's just hungry for that stuff. And yeah, I think that clarifies it a little bit. I think that helps me anyhow. So we'll look at the doc one final time, and we'll wave goodbye to the ENFP over here and say hello to Oblivion. And by that, I mean that I'm going to highlight two different things at once. Okay, so that leaves me with suspecting once and for all that Mr. Greene here is an NIFI, sleep, consume, blast, play, INTJ. And if I had to guess at his animals, I would say that it seems like he's masculine in the sensory, feminine in the intuition, hence why his NI is a little more branchy than you'd expect. And then um, feminine with the tribe. I don't know. That one I'm not so sure on, but I guess we're gonna have to leave it at that. So let me know what you thought about this format because I'm not really sure that it was a good idea. But I was so disheartened by my earlier attempt at making the video that this was my last resort, and I hope it worked out for your sake and mine. So thank you guys for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed it. If not, I'll do better next time. Thank you, as always. Again, how many times can a man say thank you when you all have given me so much? An infinite amount of gratitude wouldn't really cover the bases here, would it? Okay. I'm out of here. Bye.